Hey New York City homebuyers, I'm counting down the top 10 things that you need to know when considering buying a co-op versus a condo in New York City. I'm Dewey. I'm a top real estate agent in New York City, and I'm here to be a resource for all of your questions about buying and selling in New York City. So please take a minute to like and subscribe and hit the alert button so that you will be notified about all the great content we're releasing on this channel. Okay, number 10. With a co-op, you're buying shares in the shareholder-run company that owns the building, whereas with a condo, you're buying real property. Now that distinction is very important because it affects every part of the deal structure going forward. Number 9, inventory. Co-ops make up about 85% of the entire inventory in New York City, whereas condos are only 15%. So understand that if you come to the city wanting to only look for condos, you're going to be very restricted in the amount of inventory and also the areas of town where those properties are located. Number 8, price. Condos on the whole are about 15% more than co-ops, so co-ops will always be a little bit more economical of a purchase for you. Number 7, closing costs. Closing costs are almost always more on condos. Condos have more fees involved in the purchase, and certainly if you're looking at new development condos, the closing costs are going to be very high. Versus a co-op that is a little bit more standard to like buying a house in the rest of the United States. So condos more expensive on closing costs, co-ops a little bit more economical. Number 6, and this one is extremely important. The banks do not determine your down payment on a property purchase in New York City. For condos in general, it's 10% down across the board, but for co-ops, the board of the co-op determines how much you must put down, and that could be 10%. In general, it's usually 20%. It could be upwards of 30 or 40% or more, so you need to be prepared for that. Number 5, your monthly payments. Okay, for a co-op, you have one monthly payment, and we call that the maintenance payment. That is a per share charge that goes to all the expenses needed to run the building. For a condo, because it is real property, much like owning a house, you have 2 payments. You have your common charges that go for the expenses of running the building, and then you have your property taxes. So co-ops, 1 payment, condos, 2 payments. Number 4, the application process. Contrary to what you may have heard, you do have an application on both kinds of properties. Most people have heard horror stories about the application process on a co-op, but you do have an application for a condo, and both applications are usually fairly extensive. There is one big distinction, and that is that a co-op board can reserve the right to reject any application for a variety of different reasons. A condo board typically has no right to reject the sale of your real property. Number 3, one of the big distinctions about that board application is that you will have to go through a board interview when you purchase a co-op. You will not have a board interview when you purchase a condo. Number 2, let's talk about how long the entire process takes. All right, for a condo, if you're getting financing, we usually say about 2 months from the time the offer is accepted to the closing table. Obviously, it can be a little bit shorter if you're paying all cash. With a co-op, that time is extended to 3 months to account for your mortgage process, plus the board application review, plus the board interview. It can take longer than that. It can take up to 4 months, sometimes even 5 months. So you must be prepared for the time frames it takes to buy each property. And finally, number 1 is understanding the difference between house rules and a board's criteria. All right, for a condo, you're going to have some house rules that you generally have to agree to, and they're just rules to live in the building. However, with a co-op, you're going to have some house rules, but you're going to have the board's criteria, which has to do with meeting a certain amount of criteria to be able to be a shareholder in the company that owns the building. That criteria is primarily financial, but there are some other criteria that you need to meet. And the best thing to do to understand that is to work with a professional who is a great buyer's agent who can understand a board's criteria and match your overall financial profile and criteria to that board and building, and make sure it's a great match for you to find your dream home in New York City. Okay, I hope that this was helpful. Please take a moment to like and subscribe and hit the alert button so that you'll be notified about all the great content on this channel. And please take a moment to take a look at the description box, look at the different ways you can get in touch with me, take advantage of those. I would be thrilled to help you find your New York City dream home. I'll see you next time.